Reno was name dropped once in this episode. I think Reno had like one sentence this season. Where the heck is Reno? Jet Reno. I actually like Jet Reno, but she's gonzo. Reno is gonzo.
On behalf of the United Federation of Planets, we'd like to ask you to please halt your boronite mining operation, as it has proven lethal to some sentient life forms.
Understandable. From now on we will source our boronite from asteroids and other such lifeless bodies.
That was easy.
Sorry for the inconvenience. Goodbye.
Guess what, guys? We crossed the Rubicon. What is the Rubicon? Rubicon, as is used in the title of this episode, refers to a river that once you pass it, you cannot return. It is the point of no return. If you're wondering about that, you can use your internet search program of choice to find out more information, but that is beyond the scope of this video. It's not necessary for you to know all the details, but the Rubicon is a point in space. When you pass it, you cannot go back. Have we crossed a Rubicon in this episode of Star Trek Discovery Season 4? That being episode 9, Rubicon? Whomst knows? We're about to find out in a moment in this little video. So this episode, overall, your bottom line up front, was a bit of a mixed bag. There was some good, some bad, some questions left unanswered, and some problems that have existed since the beginning of this season that never seem to go away. I will point out that when you are making a serialized TV show, what you want to do is you want to have the plot stringing you along, for lack of a better term, by answering a question and then giving you a new one. You don't want to end the episode with the same question you had at the end of the last episode. You want new questions, new challenges, an overarching story, right? But something to look forward to, okay? This season, while generally I think it's been better than 3 in some ways, and definitely better than 2 and 1, I will point out that it is failing as a serialized show. I don't understand why we're taking a plot, breaking it down to a million pieces, and then ending every episode with the same question we had at the beginning. Just, if you've been watching along with this season, go back through the last few episodes, perhaps all the episodes of the season, and just look at how many episodes end with the question of what is the DMA, or who put it there, and how do we stop it. I think it's every episode. I think every episode was kind of the same in this season. There's definitely been some stinkers, and there's definitely been a few that were a little bit better. Namely, when it gets off the main plot train of the DMA and we focused on other things. That's when the season was good. When it's bad is when we focus solely on the DMA. That being the dark matter anomaly. Another theme of this season is assumptions. Boy, are we assuming. And whenever you assume, you're making an ass out of you and me. That's where the word assume comes from, right? Is there really an alien species creating the DMA? I don't know. I don't believe it. I haven't been given good intel or data, as it were, on whether or not actually aliens created this thing. I do know that in the 31st century, we should have been able to figure out a little bit more. I think we should have known that it was firming boronite like 7 episodes ago, and that's what the point of it was, maybe. There's all kinds of little things that we would have been able to figure out in TOS in 5 minutes, but because we're thousands of years in the future and apparently stupider, we can't figure it out anymore. And we're pretty stupid here, but we ain't that stupid. I think our computers could figure out if it was a firming device. interestingly, it feels like we're on the other end of the spectrum with the Horta. If you remember the Horta, there was a planet where we were mining materials, and we didn't know that we were actually hurting a rock-based life form that was living there. Perhaps the species, if you will permit that it was created by a species that created the DMA, is that far in advance of us that they don't even see us as being alive. Maybe I'm looking too far into it. So we're continuing off the end of the last episode, and like the last 3 episodes, Book is doing something and we gotta stop him before he blows up the DMA. That's been the conclusion of the last 3 or so episodes. So, without further ado, we're assembling our isolytic weapon, and let me tell you, Book and Tarka are assembling this weapon with the utmost care, and they're trying to put the crystals inside this bomb, and they're so careful not to drop it, which makes one wonder what happens if they do drop it. Maybe they should have put on some EVA suits and maybe did this somewhere else in like a zero gravity environment, maybe with special tools and like hazmat gear, maybe. But we're saving money, so we don't have those props, guys. We're just pouring the isolinium into the bomb. Careful now, don't drop it. You could kill us all, apparently. But we have our weapon assembled. Are we going to use it? We're playing a game of cat and mouse this episode, because Book and Tarka are inside the DMA, as it were, as well as Michael. Now, Michael, listen guys, Michael's too close. You know what, I'm afraid you can't do this mission. You're emotionally compromised. You're too close. Stop me if you've heard that before. That's been an excuse in like 5 different episodes of Discovery. Somebody being too emotionally in turmoil to deal with what's going on around them. Like, why does this keep happening? Why is only in post 2009 Trek, right? I can't let you do this mission. You're too close. So I'm going to do it myself, or I'm going to do this, or I'm going to have an advisor do this. But in the end, don't worry. You're going to get to do what you want. Don't worry. You're too emotionally compromised, but don't worry. It's going to work out in the end anyway, because you're just going to win based solely on luck, because remember, luck is a strategy now. So, who do we get to supervise the mission that Michael's going on to stop Book, who is whomst her lover boy? Well, she's getting Nan. Remember Nan from last season? I think we left Nan on her home world or something. I can't remember. I forgot about this character, but you know what? Michael didn't. And I said, here comes Nan. She's getting a hug. And guess what happens? Michael and Nan hug. And they embrace each other like they were old friends from back in the day. Were they? Why is everybody just in love with each other now? I don't know. Am I a soulless corpse? Am I a cynical old crusty demon? You tell me. Does this work for you? Do you think people should be hugging like that when they barely know each other? In Starfleet, I don't know. I prefer Starfleet when it was cold and emotionless, boring, humdrum. Do this, do that. Don't touch this. Don't touch that. Sit down. Maybe that's just me. But we still get up to a lot of fun here on this ship. We get up to some antics, let me tell you. So, we're going into the anomaly, Book versus Michael. And yeah, it is home to some cool looking scenes, I will admit. These shows definitely look better when we're in brighter lit environments. For some reason, dark environments do not play nice with the CGI of this show. Which is ugly as it is, and it makes me wonder if we're hiding poor geometry. I know what I'm talking about. I've 3D modeled all kinds of things, and I know when something looks ugly, okay, and I know the tricks you do to hide it. And we're seeing these things in a brighter lit condition, which gives me hope. Like maybe we got something to look at that's cool here. So we're running through this plot in our head, and Nan has 3 or 4 different scenes with Michael saying, listen, I'm authorized to take control of this mission. If something goes wrong, blah, blah, I'll do X, Y, and Z and end it myself. Very professional. I thought Nan was cool. I thought she looked cool, if a little bit spooky. Is it necessary to have Starfleet security wear all black? What are we trying to prove? Why do we need security dressed like that? Like, why can't she wear, like, green or something, like, or gray? Just something, not terrifying dark tones. She's wearing black on black, essentially. And I do believe we saw Starfleet security wearing gray on black last season. Am I wrong? I think that would have been a better look for her. And for Starfleet in general, maybe you don't want your security looking like spooky, terrifying secret agents, maybe. Who knows? Maybe in this timeline we folded in Section 31 into Starfleet. Wouldn't that be nice? So, we have a secret weapon to use against Book's weapon. What we're going to do is instigate some type of fail-safe maneuver that was, I guess, put in or discovered in the spore drive, the portable next-generation spore drive device that Book stole, remember, a few episodes ago in order to jump where he needed to jump to. It has a character flaw, so we do have the kill switch. So we must remember that in this episode, Burnham at all times has the upper hand. Michael can just blow Book out of the water whenever she wants. So let that be known. Book, however, does not know this and therefore cannot strategize against it. So we send a shuttle to Book's ship, and might I say, I was interested for a brief moment because we actually saw on the bridge random bridge officers talking to each other. I was like, oh wow, this is cool. Our bridge officers are acting like humans. They're having discussions about stuff. This is cool. I like this. But then they completely step on that because when those officers get in the shuttle, they start screaming over each other and comparing loss. Okay? There's another theme of this season is loss, I think. Hey, your planet was destroyed. Well, guess what? I need to go home to my planet. Oh, well, hey, you don't know. You don't know what that guy's thinking. I agree with Book. Stop comparing loss, man. You don't know. So we're going through our Rolodex of pain that we've been through and said, well, okay, well, look. My planet was destroyed, so I'll raise you that, and then say, oh, well, no, listen, I'm far away from home, and I'm from the past, and I got no family, so, I mean, you gotta consider that. Oh, yeah, I'll give you that. Hey, we both have some loss. We're both losers. We're both inadequate. We got it all. There's Discovery for you. Back in the day, we would more or less see thousands of people bite the dust in a second and then just go right back to doing what we were doing. Like nothing happened. For better or for worse. Call me an emotionless, dry old husk, but I've seen some ships sink, and I've seen people bite it by the hundreds, and I still got up the next day and went to my station here. So, this shuttle home to the childish argument of our officers is trying to attach itself in a cloaked way to a vulnerable spot on Book's ship. But Book, guess what? Book's ship has been equipped with a secret security device that Tarka installed when didn't tell him. Now, listen. All these things that Tarka is doing, I would poo-poo it and say it was incorrect or illogical if we hadn't already taken the time to set up that Tarka was the smartest man in the Federation. We've said multiple times that Tarka is one of the smartest scientists in all of the United Federation of Planets. When you accept that and incorporate that into your plot, you can understand how he could take 10 years to come up with a plot like this. You can see how he could come up with a gambit that he could run that would have all these fail-safes. He had money to spend on Parathia, that place we went to get the isolinium, I think. He had a secret security system installed in the Book's ship that would incapacitate any ship that got too close to it. He had, later on we will find, he had a fail-safe to activate the weapon if Book should disagree. And this all makes sense if you accept that he's very, very intelligent. However, we also have to accept that the United Federation of Planets isn't interested in helping him. He wants to get the power source from the anomaly to use it to create a portal, I guess, back to his own dimension. He's trying to go home. What wouldn't the Federation understand about that? That's not that crazy. Why wouldn't he just tell them? He might get some leeway. Some clemency. Is the Federation just mean? I don't know. It's the year 3000 and something. Anything could have happened. So, bearing that in mind, Book's ship inadvertently, and to his own dismay, almost destroyed the shuttle containing Saru and a few other officers that were his friends back in the day before he crossed that Rubicon. But they're beamed out just in time, and thank God we beamed them out, and we don't accidentally beam Saru like 1 foot forward, which would have merged his body into the console on the bridge. Thank God we didn't do that, but they're okay. So that shuttle has been destroyed, and our cloak is now useless because we know who's who in the zoo. So we're going on a little chase using our spore drives. We're jumping back and forth, jumping after each other, and we're getting to an interesting sequence of combat and stratagem involving 2 ships with spore drives, which is kind of an interesting visual, I will say. It's getting desperate. We don't know what to do. Book is doing what he wants to do. Michael has to do what she wants to do. Interesting that for this episode, at least, our antagonist and our protagonist are in love with each other. So, I mean, emotionally, I thought there was something going on. There's an emotional core, a philosophical core to this episode. There's something. Discovery being what it is. I'll call a spade and say when an episode is a little bit interesting, at least. It's discovered basically by Stamets and co., who, by the way, Reno was name dropped once in this episode. I think Reno had like 1 sentence this season. Where the heck is Reno? Jet Reno. I actually like Jet Reno, but she's gonzo. Reno is gonzo. And she's name dropped here. She does something off screen, perhaps. But suffice it to say, Stamets figures out how to work backwards from boronite deposits to create a model to predict when the DMA would activate again, and it works out that it would take like a week or 2, I think, before the DMA would have to activate again. So we got some time. So we know the DMA is not 100% going to move at random now. Hopefully, if we've determined that, if we believe that the DMA was put there by sentient creatures, it's weird that we also wouldn't believe it wouldn't have a defense mechanism. Like, if we're saying we can wait this amount of time before it moves, we're assuming that the sentient creatures on the other end of this aren't going to move it for some other reason. So we only have one good reason why they wouldn't move it, but there's 1,000 different reasons why they might decide to move it. So it's actually not that smart, but we have an out. So the needs of the many being what they are, we decide we're just going to basically tell Book that there's this much time until the DMA moves. Would you reconsider for a moment? Coming back to the bargaining table, as it were. And to do this, an interesting scene. It's bold. I don't think it's that stupid, but Michael takes a shuttle to Book's ship, alone personally, she's laying her life on the line and using her own livelihood as a bargaining chip at the bargaining table, and saying, Book, I know you love me, I love you, please, I'm here alone, would you reconsider? And we have an interesting shot of Michael's shuttle standing directly outside of Book's ship, looking at each other, divided by what amounts to glass, maybe most likely transparent aluminum laddie, and a few feet of space. And we're seeing this shot, and I'm sending the data. Listen, we think the DMA isn't going to move for a while. Would you reconsider? And Book says yes. And Ruwan Tarka says the obvious thing that everyone was thinking. They're lying. If I were there in Michael's shoes, I would have lied too. I would have made up some bullshit, honestly, because the needs of the many necessitate the use of a white lie. That is a lie that's not hurting anyone, but it is a lie that benefits the most people at the moment. It's a strategic lie. We can do that. Tarka picks it out. He's thinking, there's no way they're telling the truth. They're going to put you right in the brig. You're going to prison forever. Maybe Tarka was right. I don't know what things are like in the year 3100 and whatever, but I'm with Tarka on this one. For what it's worth, I think Tarka was correct. He shouldn't have shot the weapon off without Book's guidance on that. But I think he was correct in assuming that this could have been a lie. For all we know, it was a strategic lie. And a good lie, because we did manage to trick or convince Booker, but we didn't do it for Tarka, and Tarka hits the button and he launches that weapon anyway. Just before this episode was getting boring, Tarka spiced it up. I like this Tarka character, and I like his actor, and I'm not just saying that because of where he's from. But, you know, all in all, the weapon is deployed. We failed. We couldn't do what we were supposed to do. And we're still wondering about who the heck the quote-unquote 10C are. I'm not sure what the logic behind calling them 10C is. I'm not sure what the history behind that is. But we are referring to the hypothetical species on the other end of the anomaly as the 10C. The weapon is deployed. The DMA controller, I guess, is destroyed, which looked very cool, by the way. It looked like a cool little piece of alien technology, I must say. But the power source is nowhere to be found. Tarka thought he would be able to reveal the power source and steal it and use it to go home. He ain't in Kansas anymore, and neither is the power source. We find out that the power source wasn't on our end of the DMA, and actually, in fact, it was deriving its power from another end of a wormhole. So these people are probably further away than we thought, or in another dimension. I don't know. Just remember that the power source is gone, and the DMA is connected to some kind of wormhole. Which I think was one of the possible theories as to what the DMA was in an earlier episode of the season. I think Stamets referred to it as a baby wormhole or something. I don't know. We end our episode off with conversation between Nan and Michael that it was essentially about nothing. Much to do about nothing. We're just having a little emotional hug-a-thon. Hey, I hope you come back to the Discovery. Yeah, I hope I do as well. Hey, this show is pretty cool. I mean ship. I meant to say ship. Did I say show? I want to come back to this ship. Yum yum. How about a little AI sausage? Maybe later. And then we have a sequence between Culber and Saru, where Saru is discussing his relationship with the leader of Navarre, Tarina. And I know I didn't mention it before because it's not really essential to the plot, really, but it would be cool if somehow that tied into the DMA somehow. I don't know how you do it, so if I don't know how you could do it, then you probably shouldn't do it, but wouldn't it be cool if we could imagine that it was cool, even though it's not? Does that make sense? No. It's kind of sad when events on the periphery of the DMA are more interesting than the DMA itself. This season, wants to be about the DMA, but the DMA is not interesting. Who created it? It's a little bit interesting. The relationship between Saru and Tarina is kind of interesting. But the DMA, not so much. Kind of pathetic and a little bit embarrassing. That was episode 9, I guess, of Star Trek Discovery Season 4, Rubicon. Now, as you know, I like to go through the basic elements of a show, and I like to give my specific thoughts on those different elements, that being the visuals and the sound and the plot, essentially. I thought this episode sounded cool. There was an interesting little musical sting when we saw the DMA controller up close. It was interesting. It was kind of a different style of music than we're used to for Star Trek. It was kind of thumping and very alien sounding. If you use a piece of music that is not what we're accustomed to for a certain given genre or show's soundtrack, it really gives you this alien feeling, and I think it really accomplished that in this episode. Visually, again, this is one of the better looking episodes of this show. Not so much with props or alien designs, but with shots of the ships doing stuff. Well lit, looked alright. Interesting two shots between Discovery and Book's ship. Philosophy and plot, there was something there. Book and Michael are in love. Hey, it's something. It's not nothing. The theme of loss. We've all lost something. Book lost his planet. You know, Tarka lost his planet in a way. He just has to get back home. And we're using that loss to blow up an alien thing. What better reason to use loss than to blow some shit up? Am I right? This has been the Rubicon. Did we pass it? What score is it getting? I thought it was more or less in line with the previous episode, but I'm happy that we moved forward at least an inch. We're moving in a snail's pace to get forward with what we're doing with the DMA. We did kind of inadvertently make first contact because we destroyed the DMA and then a new one came back, so unless this sequence is automatic, they know we're here, and we know they know we're here, and they know we know they know we know that Reno is gonzo. This episode is getting just a 6, just a plain old 6. I watched it, I felt a little better after watching it, and I'm slightly interested in seeing what happens next. It still has all the trappings of Discovery that we hate, but it's getting a little bit easier to handle, I will say. That's been the Rubicon, and I'll see you guys when I cross the Rubicon into the next episode, whenever that is. Bye-bye.